Greetings. This is Stuart Orlando Morgan speaking. There was a lot of you ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters who have been inquiring about what do I feed my aquarium. Well, before I get into the feeding frenzy of the fish, I want you to know that all these corals that you see in the tank, they benefit from the fish waste, like the urine and all their little feces and stuff like that, which is broken down by the biological system in here and becomes carbohydrates, amino acids, and fats and proteins. And this is a lot of what the corals use for food. If y'all can remember from some latest videos before, that this polyp rock here had 2 polyps on it. If you notice now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 polyps on there now. So it's spreading. You remember before that my whole conch shell was full of these purple and blue anemones. So what I did, because people couldn't see that it was a conch shell, what I did was I shaved a lot of them off with a razor blade. They'll grow and multiply, but I want people to see that that's actually a conch shell. Before it was so covered you couldn't see what it was. We have a newcomer in the tank, a very rare specimen from the Red Sea called the Purple Tang. This video doesn't give it any justice because it can't capture the actual beauty of this guy here. But he's magnificent in real life. He's a beautiful, velvety, purplish blue. He's a newcomer. And it was a little bit of aggression when he came into the tank because, you know, like I said, tangs be very aggressive. That's why you try to get them young again when you're trying to establish a new system. I want to take you to the side and show you some specimens hopefully we can see. Let's see. If you look closely, you see those tentacles moving. Those are Scarlet cleaner shrimps. You see it's 3 of them. 1, 2 in the front and 1 a little bit in the back. That's they actually will help, like if fish have parasites. They actually will remove the parasites. And when you dive in the ocean and you open your mouth, they will actually clean your cavities and stuff and clean in between your teeth too. They're harmless, but they're created by our Heavenly Father for a benefit. Everything in the ocean has a beneficial component to keeping the reef alive. Once again, this is the side of the tank. The side of the tank is 4 feet long, 4 feet wide, excuse me. So, and the front is 6.5 feet long all the way. If I can get it all in there. And from the stand up, it's close to 6 feet high. So this is a 280-gallon saltwater aquarium, which is nothing compared to some of my buddies. One of my buddies I know, he has a 40,000-gallon tank that he actually scuba dives in. So, you know, that's an amazement. If I was younger, I would go up to a 500-gallon, but right now I got to stand on a ladder and my arm can hardly fit down in the bottom if I'm trying to do something. So this is pretty good for me now. You know, I'm too old to get anything bigger. I would love to have bigger, but you know, you have to understand your limitations. Now, as I said, the tangs in here, the yellow tang, the Dajani sailfin, the purple tang, the Nassau tang, the blue Caribbean tang, and the foxface, they're all herbivores. Herbivores mean that they eat mostly vegetation. That's why if you get any nuisance algae in the tank, you won't have none with these guys. But now, I'm going to feed them now something from the ocean called mysis shrimp, because everyone's been inquiring about the feeding frenzy. Most of the time I wait for the mysis shrimp to thaw out. When it's thawed, I can disperse it better, but I'm going to show you the feeding frenzy. And look at my two lovely couples there, the snake gobies. One is camera shy, the other one doesn't care at all. So I'm going to put it in there while it's frozen. Mysis shrimp come from the ocean also. They're a small relative of the krill that the sperm whale and everything else eats. So these guys have been loaded with vitamins and minerals and nutrition that the animals eat and need. But now, with the tangs, if you just fed them mysis shrimp, they would still starve to death because they need vegetation also. So I'm going to try to hold the camera still and get this food inside and see if we can get it dispersed. Alrighty. Give me 1 second. There we go. If you see, everyone is going for that frozen cube, and you see the shrimp are thawing out and dispersing, and the power heads are moving it. Now, you don't want your filter on when this is on, because you don't want the food being removed by filters. If you notice now, some of the shrimps are coming out. They all smell everything too. This is part of the feeding frenzy here. And if you can hang tight, I'll get some more. Give me 1 second, please. I'll show you where I keep it in the actual freezer down where my heating system is in my house. This is what it comes in. If you can see what it says, mysis shrimp, BioPure. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll break another piece off and I'll put it in the tank. Here we go with another piece, a little larger piece. Usually I let the mice and shrimp thaw out. It's better to feed them that way. But it's thawing out slowly, and I just want to show the feeding frenzy to everyone. And I have to be careful because I'm allergic to shrimp, so I have to wash my hands after I touch it. You see, usually when it's thawed out, it disperses better. But I just wanted to get an opportunity too to get some shots of everyone. While it's out. There's one of my snake gobies. You look closely, you see the tentacles coming out. Those are the cleaner shrimps. They're coming out for their grub also. They also eat organics in the sand and everything too, so they're also tank cleaners. See, everyone is they're not going as quick because the second helping here, they're getting full. Now, if you see the power head, watch what the power head does. See, the power head will blow it and disperse it. You see? Everything is a purpose. It has a purpose. I usually feed on the right side of the tank. Here we go again. The power head is going to blow it. See, there it goes. See what I'm saying? There it is. Now it's actually like live action for them. They actually think that the stuff is alive. And everyone gets a good amount. And this is what I feed them. You know, I feed them once a day. Sometimes I'll feed them twice if I'm giving them vegetable matter. The next time I record a video, I'll show you the Tangs eating kale and greens and nori, which is actually a seaweed. I was getting so many inquiries about it, so I said, let me go ahead and record one for those who are, you know, fascinated by it. You notice the powder blue tang is not in my tank now. I had to take him out and put him in a quarantine for a bit because he was a little bit too aggressive to the purple tang. So I wanted the purple tang to establish himself. Then I'll reintroduce the powder blue. So the powder blue won't be one of the dominant factors anymore. It's all a hierarchy inside the tank also. This is why you have to get species and specimens that you know will get along. And a lot of these fish, if you had a small tank like a 20-gallon or something like that, they would kill each other because there's not enough room. You know, to have species like this and all kind of specimens like this together, you need room. Also, the fascinating thing about corals, is that corals sting. They sting one another. So therefore, it's recommended, as you can see, that everything is spaced out, because some corals can have a greater sting than the others, and they can cause harm. So as you see, everything is spread out. This is how you maintain a proper aquarium. These are two arch rocks that you see here. This one here has some polyps on it. That's new. And this other arch rock is new. You don't want to overwhelm your aquarium, and you don't want to buy something that cannot live in here. Like, there's a fish called a triggerfish. That's one of the most beautiful fish you ever want to see. But I can't keep them in here for one simple reason. He or she eats coral. And you don't want nothing munching down on your corals, and then you having bites and nips off it and everything else. You don't want that if you want a reef tank. Now, he can live in a fish only and live rock tank, that's loaded with fish and just live rock. But to have corals, no. He'll snip off them, and some of your precious corals will be bitten off, and little polyps that's growing and stuff will be snipped off, and you don't want that. I really find it fascinating that so many are interested in the aquarium, and they wanted to see them actually eat. So I said, let me not shortchange anyone. Remember the magnificent flame angel, one of the rarest fish in the world. You just have to learn from those who are experienced, so that you can have a successful tank like this. And remember what I said, every fish has to be quarantined before placing them in your aquarium. Otherwise, you risk bringing parasites into your tank. Now I'm going to show you where the powder blue is at. He's in my storeroom in a small little 20-gallon tank. You can see him down there. See, this is a small quarantine tank. This is what I use to quarantine new specimens, but he's down there now because his behavior was bad. And normally you would have to tear down your tank in order to get to him, but it was one time at night I came down and I was able to catch him with the net behind the rock, because he would not let up on this purple tang. So see, now that the purple tang is in there, he's developed his own sense of security, and he's part of the hierarchy. I will reintroduce the powder blue in probably about another week. I want him to chill his tail out a bit. So when he's introduced again, he will be one of the new jacks, and then he will have to establish himself again. And see, powder blue tangs are notorious for being some of the most biggest bullies you can have in a tank. So when you try to put a new tang in there, he's going to start his nonsense for a while. So, and you notice I have different species of tangs. Everyone asks me the same thing. How do you have tangs in the same tank? As vicious as they are and how territorial they are. It's because I have the room. It all depends on the room. You have to have the proper room for these guys. You can't play around. You try to put these tangs in a 20-gallon tank, and before you know it, the fins will be ripped to shreds, and you'll have a mess in there. People battling all the time. Like the little tank where the powder blue is in right now. If you have these guys in there, you can forget it. But see, in a tank this size, they have room to establish their own territory. And if you notice that this side of the tank is mostly empty, it's because they know when it's feeding time, they come over here. See, if I stood up and put my hand here, see, they're full now. But usually when I tap, you see them coming up? They still greedy, but they not coming up quickly because they full. Now the next person could come to my tank and they run. See, they know me. So the best thing to do when you are approaching a person's tank is to bend down and let the fish see your face, not your shirt and everything, because they don't know what that shirt is. They think it's some type of predator and they run. So what you got to do is you got to come and you show your face. Then after a while, when you continue to visit that person, the fish will know you. Yes, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, the fish will know you. They're not just some mindless creatures that just floating around aimlessly. They do have a sense of intelligence. Not the intelligence of a human being, of course not. But they do have a sense of intelligence. Now you see why some people fail too is because they keep on feeding their fish even after their fish have eaten. If you notice, you still see them pecking at the bottom. Now you all seen me fill their bellies, didn't you? But you see, it's a non-stop feeding behavior. In the wild, they don't eat a lot. They eat here and there. That's all they do. They just get little morsels here and there. So when you overfeed a tank, not only can you cause them to have bloat, where they can't pass their bowels and they'll just literally explode inside, you're also damaging the biological system in your tank. So, that's what they'll eat today. They don't need to eat anymore today. And during the day now, they'll just be pecking around, finding little copepods that's growing in the corals and little worms and stuff like that. They'll find a snack here or there. But you don't feed constantly every time they look hungry. I mean, look at these guys. They're pecking around like they haven't eaten in weeks. You see? Yo, this all saw me fed them till they was fat. But still, they want to continue to look around. So, see, that's the mistake that a lot of people have, is that they keep on overfeeding their tank. And that's when that nasty algae grows, and because things are broken down and there's nothing to eat it. See, I have serpent stars in here that's nocturnal. They come out at night, they eat the poop and excess this and everything else at night. Very rarely will you see them during the day. But I have tank cleaners in here too. But even they cannot clean everything if you're constantly throwing food in there and where they're full and they can't eat no more. Then the next thing you have food all in the gravel, it's decaying. And with decay comes phosphates, nitrates, silicates, etc., which fuels negative algae. You ever go to swamps and stuff and you smell a bad odor and you see all this slime looking stuff growing around? That's because the water is polluted by man and it's encouraging that negative algae to grow. Because that's what negative algae grows on. It feeds on waste. So the negative algae has a place also because it absorbs phosphates and everything else, but it's supposed to be in minute quantities, not where it's overwhelming. There are people whose whole aquarium is green with this nasty hair algae because feeding 4 or 5 times a day, every time they see the fish act up, oh, they hungry. I mean, look at this fox face here. Look at the size. Look at the meat on him. Look how yellow and meaty he is. Does he look like he's starving? But what is he doing? There he goes, looking around, constantly pecking. And y'all all know that they just ate healthy because you saw it. Educate yourselves on situations. I have a few people that I have to set up aquariums for. They're actually not ready for saltwater tanks, but they're going to have some beautiful freshwater tanks, which can be beautiful also when they're done properly. I'm not talking about with little sunken ships and little skeletons and pink gravel and stuff. I'm talking about a natural lagoon-looking fish tank with Amazon sword plants and Sagittarius sword plants and banana plants and kabamba plants, things like that help neutralize the system also. And they absorb fish waste. So I hope this was an experience for those who were interested in the feeding frenzy. I'm sorry, I'm a little busy in the house. Like I said, I'm still doing painting. This is a new house and I'm painting upstairs. I'm multitasking. I'm also getting myself together musically with my musical director, Terrence Coleman, and I have new young ladies who will be singing with me and things like that. So, everything has its time. And I told a lot of people to please stop telling people that this tank is hard to keep. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if this tank was hard to keep, I would not have it. Can you imagine me taking this whole tank apart and scrubbing it and putting these rocks and stuff back together? That would be not a hobby. That would be a tedious job. No, brothers and sisters, it's not hard when you leave it alone. This is 280 gallons of water. And every other month, I only change 20 gallons with fresh saltwater, seawater mix. This is to help replenish trace elements and everything that the corals use also. And that the Coraline Algae uses. If you notice on the top of my tank, you see some pink stuff growing there. I have to scrape that off too. That's Coraline Algae. That's the building blocks of the reef. When I brought this conch shell from my buddy, Solomon Canada, who gave it to me, it was pure white. Like you get a conch shell, from the souvenir shop in the Bahamas or something. I boiled it, made sure there was no dead matter inside, drilled a hole in the back to make sure nothing was in there. I boiled it, cleaned it, and now look at the color of it. Does it look like a souvenir conch shell anymore? No. It's overgrown with corals and Coraline algae. So that means that the tank is healthy. See, I have to back up a lot in order to get this whole bad boy inside the actual frame of this here video. I just want to thank everyone who finds it so fascinating, and no, you're not annoying me by asking me to make films and stuff. Let me tap one more time. Look at them. See? Me tapping. And look at them. Feed me, Feed me. I haven't eaten in weeks. Please, please. You see what I'm saying? Look at this. And they're looking me right in the face, and you know that I just fed them. Y'all all see me feed them. You'll all see me feed these guys. They should not be carrying on like that. But see, that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is when they get fish and they see them do that, there they go with more food. And you know, gluttony for us and gluttony for an animal is not healthy. I'm working on shedding some pounds now. This pandemic, I've gained over 30 some pounds, and it's got to come off. You know, I've allowed myself to be stagnant and sit back and eating the same thing I always did, but I was not moving. So see, time to get it down. So I hope that everyone enjoyed this who does find the hobby fascinating. The next time I'll throw some vegetable matter in there and let you see what the tangs actually need. Like I said, you know, they got some protein and stuff today from the mice and shrimp, because the other fish, the wrasse and everyone else, they're carnivores. So they need the shrimps and everything else. But the actual tang species are 95% herbivore. So yesterday I fed them vegetable matter and pellets, which are called omnivore. When something's an omnivore, it means that it eats vegetable and animal matter. So now, even though these tangs are displaying omnivore behavior in here, they are primarily vegetarians. And if you do not give them that diet, they will suffer. This is that magnificent purple tang here. He comes from the Red Sea. And the reason he's so expensive is because they have to dive really, really deep to get him. So I was able to acquire a specimen that was about the size of everyone else in here. You know, you don't want a little teeny one going in here, because he's had it. I don't care what you do. And what I did with him was that I fed him in the quarantine tank. I bulked him up, so he was eating right and everything else. So for the first initial few days of aggression, he would be able to, you know, defend himself. But now you get a brand new fish, and straight out the bag, you want to throw them in there. First of all, you throw them in there straight out the bag. That's crazy, because it could be with parasites. But if you throw one out of the bag who just came from shipment, stressed out and everything else like that, the chances of survival is zero. So we just want to do things properly. I'm going to give y'all one more tap so you see how these spoiled little brats do. There they go again. Going nuts. Acting like they haven't eaten in weeks. And see, they stay on this side because most of the time I sit on the right side and I feed them on the right side. If I go to the side of the aquarium, here they go over here. You see? Now tell me they don't have no personality and they don't have no intelligence. Of course they do. And I have a name for each and every one of them. But I'm not going to go down that list of names right now. That's a little silly. But they're my personal names. I haven't named the Purple Tang yet. If anyone has a suggestion for him, give me a heads up I just want to tell you my yellow tang here is named Cheese. I call her Cheese. So I hope this is enough education for this round here. Oh, this video's over 35 minutes now, so it's time for me to quit so I don't bore you. But this is for all of those who, see, they saying bye to y'all too. They saying thank you for looking at us. This is for y'all, those of you who wanted to see the feeding frenzy. You can save the video, you can share the video, and you can be my guest. I find it fascinating. I thank you very much for enjoying the hobby with me. Once again, pay attention to what you're trying to do if you're going to get into the hobby. Learn from those who know what they're doing and do it right.